Bob, I'd like to ask you a question, because like it takes years to become a subject matter expert in forensic disciplines, but you grasped all these medical and forensic concepts of and all the protocols and procedures, and you came off as a subject matter expert when you were cross-examining the prosecution and your own subject matter experts. And I was just astonished with your ability to grasp all these concepts and knowledge that you had attained. How do you do it?
Thank you. Well, that's a high compliment coming from you. You're at the very top of your game, and you know the only way, and I'm never going to get to your level, but the only way I get to approximate it is just to immerse yourself in the subject matter, read everything you can on it. As you may know, I have a technical background. I went to pharmacy school first and became a licensed pharmacist, to your point about being licensed. So I've had every chemistry, physics, calculus, you name it, known to man. So, but I also, of course, went to law school, and those two are just two separate parts of the brain. And so I love the technical aspect, and anytime you love what you're doing, and you made another excellent point, which is lifelong learning. If you have the humility and the modesty to know that it is a lifelong process, you're never there, you keep thirsting and you keep hungry for more knowledge. And so on this particular trial, as David knows, we won't tell you how we split up the team, but we did. And I knew what my job was. And I am on a team with the best lawyers in the country. And that was another motivation for me to make sure I learned it. So how did I do it? I grabbed everything I possibly could, made sure I knew the facts, the evidence, frontwards and backwards, and then, read as much as I possibly could. I wish I would have had your cell phone number because I could have done better. I just immersed myself in it, and that's what I've done all my career. I've handled a number of high stakes cases where there's subject matter you just got to learn, and I will tell you two things that accelerate it: fear and being in the public domain. Those are also great motivators. So I can't tell you the specifics of how I did it. Thank God. I'm a very religious person, and God basically allowed me, as I usually do, to not get much sleep. So I had more time than most to spend during my days and nights to learn it. But the bottom line is I've been doing all my life learning technical areas, and this was just another challenge in that regard. And fortunately, I was able to meet it somewhat. But just time, effort, motivation, determination, and the stakes couldn't be higher, which is additional motivation.
But, Bob is, he's good at so much except tooting his own horn. He's too humble. The two things I'd like to say is that, first of all, I knew going into this trial that Bob Alessi is probably the leading trial lawyer in the country when it comes to examining experts, both on direct and cross-examination. There were Daubert hearings that needed to be done, voir dires before trial, and I had no doubt he was going to win every single one of those, and he did. Secondly, yes, he does have the medical background, and when it came to cross-examination of medical experts, I think any expert that he's questioning learns very quickly that they can't snow him. He knows the subject matter, and that kept guardrails up such that an expert really could not, go beyond the bounds of science and the bounds of truth. However, Bob had never examined a computer forensic expert in his career prior to this case. That was all him studying, getting up to speed, and hitting the ball out of the park with regard to a subject that was essentially foreign to him before the trial. So I just thought that was remarkable. We were so lucky to have him.
Yeah, and you could see it. You could see it in Bob's work, in his cross-examination, and that he had obtained a level of subject matter expertise that most lawyers don't have. I graduated from Pratt Institute School of Architecture. Okay, so I have an architecture and engineering background. And all of that helped me in my forensics with the math, the physics, the science. I fell in love with forensics, and you had the forensics on your side, Dave, Bob. You had the science and the medical findings on your side to prove Karen innocent, and nothing the prosecution could do could take that away from you. Okay. Because we say here all the time, trust the science. Science don't lie. People lie. Science don't lie.
Bob, you, at 2 points in this retrial, you called for a mistrial. I want to just take a minute. I have to toot your horn a little bit for yourself right now by showing this little video.
Defense moves for a mistrial with prejudice based upon intentional misconduct that just occurred before the court and for the jury. This regards questioning and representations in questioning by Mr. Brennan. These two documents are from the criminalist's file, specifically Ms. Maureen Hartnett's notes regarding cuttings from the hoodie sweatshirt that's in the crime lab file folder.
Just give me a minute to read this, Mr. Alessi.
Yes.
So is it that there are no holes in the back? There were no holes in the back of the sweatshirt?
That's only part of it, but that is in fact the case, Your Honor.
Okay.
So I want to fast forward because another moment in your cross-examination involved Dr. Welcher. And he made some statements about Miss Reed's car being able to go to outer space. And this was one of the funnier moments for me as it pertains to your job and what you did. At the end of the day, this is the one that Ed and I actually were belly chuck. We were laughing our asses off. This was comical.
I think it's possible that it could have been shot off into space, sir.
As an engineer, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility that
Absolutely.
this Lexus could have been shot up into space.
Highly, highly unlikely. But
All
again, you're asking an engineer about possibilities and probabilities.
Let's get back to reality.
That was amazing. Bob, please, what was your thoughts when Dr. Welcher said that to you and you asked him to come back down to reality?
Well, you know, my thoughts were he was obviously a very challenging witness, and you never know at the moment how the jury is going to view him. For example, they're going to view him as someone who's very knowledgeable, a biomechanist, or are they going to view him as a person who is not serving them by providing them with useful information upon which they can make a decision? So what was going in through my head at the moment he said that the Lexus could sort of jettison itself into space? You know, as a cross-examiner, you got to think very quickly on your feet, especially with a witness like this. You got to be very alert. Sometimes attorneys are looking at their notes, just trying to get the next question straight. I'm quite the opposite. I'm very tuned in to what the witness is saying, what the witness is doing. So I was very, very on high alert with Dr. Welcher because he said a number of things that were, to say the least, catching my attention. So when he said that, it was really, first thought was, what a gift to us that he's literally saying that it's possible that the Lexus could have jettisoned itself into space. And so what I wanted to do was to avoid getting too much in that logical mud with him and then just trying to bring him back. And frankly, at that point, it was simply reaction. It wasn't thought. My saying, let's get back to reality, was simply maybe something that any one of your viewers would have said to somebody sitting in their living room. And that's the way I treated that situation. A much shorter answer for when you played the clip of me making the argument for the mistrial. And I was so adversely affected and disappointed in what had happened with the hoodie sweatshirt, that stunt that was performed. I was so mad, not in the sense of a common person's mad, but intellectually mad, intellectually insulted. But I was also felt my heart breaking for justice because the jury was misled. That I just gave that whole argument, as you might have seen, it was top of the head. The team grabbed the relevant documents that I wanted to have for that argument. But I also have to make an apology to the forensic scientist and particularly Ed. I was so into that argument that I forgot to take off my the black gloves. So people all thought that that was theater, that was intended. I just forgot to take them off. So here I am, you know, trying to follow protocol for proper contamination and everything. And I basically got the gloves on, and I'm like handling documents, etc. And so with apologies to you, Ed, but that was all passion, not thought.
No, I understood that perfectly, but I did bring it up to our audience that, you know, you're cross-contaminating all your paperwork at the podium and so forth and so on.
No, stop.
And I was like, ah!